You are listening to These Walls Can Talk, a Hope Outdoor Gallery podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of These Walls Can Talk. I'm Chris Scull, along with my sister Andy Scull, the founder of the Hope Outdoor Gallery and Hope Campaign. How's everyone?
Beautiful.
Amazing.
We are here with two awesome guests. They are Andrew and Nikki Horner of their company Cartel. So we're excited to learn and share more of crazy stories in our creative community and here in Austin.
Thanks, man.
Oh, yeah. So I was telling my brother as we were on our way here how excited I was just to see you guys. We haven't even gotten to see each other in a while.
Yeah, everybody's been working so hard for the last several years. You know, it's like so many people that we started out seeing all the time. I saw Zuzu in Miami yesterday.
That's right.
And I was like, damn, I haven't seen Zuzu in forever, and I should have seen Zuzu a bunch, you know?
Yeah, well, but, you know, that's also a part of the show. You know, there's so much that we all haven't gotten to share with each other, verbally, visually, and then physically. Yeah. So it's so cool because I know that you guys have been raising your family too, and I talk a lot about being at the park pregnant and waddling around, and I know you can relate to that, being artists, and you guys are so dynamic as a husband and wife team that has been doing art together for a long time.
10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, yeah. So that's what I told Chris. I'm like, I cannot wait to have Nikki and Andrew really talk about like their stories, because having it be a part of the park was really just a small part of like a whole huge like story of their lives. But definitely I know there's some crazy stuff that we saw.
So much.
Yeah. So I'd love, I mean, help share with us like how you guys met and came even to the park. I feel like even that, and then we can kind of dive into how we ended up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was in college. I had just been, I was doing graffiti, you know, but I hadn't done anything like legally. I hadn't really taken on painting anything except for walls, trains, dumpsters, that kind of thing. And it got to a point where I was like, a lot of my pieces I'd go look at the next day in the sunlight, and it wouldn't be as sexy as I thought it was in the dark, you know?
That happens a lot in a lot of figurative ways in my past. No offense, myself.
And so at some point I was like, you know, I should find places to go paint, you know, in the daylight with permission, you know, so I can take my time, use like some good spray paint, you know, and so I started going to all these different businesses and asking like, hey, can I paint your wall? And nobody said yes. And so I kind of changed. I made like a little Facebook page, and I said, it was pre-Instagram, right? Make a little Facebook page, and I'm like, I'm a professional graffiti artist. Can I paint your wall? I'll do it very cheap, you know? And then I got lots of yeses. And one of the first ones I got, I was going downtown. I found this wall that was covered in graffiti, and I was like, they can't say no. This is too easy. The whole wall is trashed. Anything I do is going to be an improvement, right? They're going to have to say yes. So I go in there, and the guy actually says, we can't actually paint the exterior wall, city things, but I have a business inside. I'll introduce you to the manager. And Nikki was the manager of this paintball arena. And so
laser tag.
Thank you. Laser tag, that's what it was. Laser tag arena. And I show up, and Nikki started helping me paint. And she was actually a really good artist. And I was like, dude, do you do a lot of art? Do you have like a practice? And she's like, no. And so we jumped together, and we started painting together and started spray painting, and she was kicking ass immediately.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then was that when she showed you her bike?
No.
That came later.
So she had just gotten out of a relationship with a boyfriend who had a bike, and that was where we were at that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. but no, because the bike came soon thereafter.
Okay, yeah, all right. So, Nikki, jump in here. You're at laser tag?
Yeah, I was working part-time at a laser tag arena. This boy that came in and asked to graffiti something, and here I was in this tiny little town. The most interesting person I knew basically rogued potatoes, you know. And so
Where was this?
this was in Idaho.
Ah, potatoes.
so-
Got it.
And he came in here looking to do something so edgy, is what it felt like, and I was instantly intrigued, and to be able to go and help him paint was kind of thrilling. You know, I wasn't an artist. I didn't know how to use a spray can or anything, and I just felt like I was jumping on an adventure, and it's just never stopped.
She said
we
she
just
wasn't
keep
an
going.
artist, but she showed me like all these pictures that she'd already done of like realistic hand drawings and things like that. Like,
Dude,
Doodles. They're
well,
fine.
but that, honestly, that is another part of this show. I mean, I do feel that creators, we get this a lot where you meet people and they're like, oh, I wish I could draw. I wish I could cook. I wish I could DJ. And most of the time, if you ask them, have you ever tried? Most of the time, they haven't. And then if they say, oh, well, kind of, then you're like, yo, this is really good. Like, why? You know, you don't have to do it for a living. You can
Yeah.
do it out of joy and like, you know, speak that language with other people. And again, that's you know, the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that I feel like most of my life, people always be in awe, and you're like, dude, just come hang out with us. Like, you might love it.
just do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of that happens at the park. It
Yeah.
still happens all the time.
Yeah, it's normally many times it's the beginning of someone's creative evolution. Just
Right.
you know, so but I come from that place too of like being, you know, humble or modest or not thinking what I'm bringing is top notch, but the whole point is the evolution because you're getting closer and closer and stronger. And just as you all met 10 years ago, and to see where you all are now is pretty amazing.
Yeah, you show up with you. You know, people like being with you. You show up with you, and you express that how you want to, whether it's music, whether it's talking, making jokes, you know, making visual art, whatever it is. Maybe you're good. There's all different kinds of ways to like take the energy that you've got and share that with everybody. And then it doesn't matter how you do that, really, you know. And yeah, it's showing up and doing stuff is what it really is. Somebody told me that you're an artist when you're creating, and you're not when you're not, and that's it. You know, and so then when they told me that, I was like, I need to be more of an artist, you know? And I just thought I need to be, every day that I'm not creating, I'm not an artist. Every day that I am, I am. I don't know if that's how you define that, but I like that way of thinking about it.
I like it too. It's also reminding you to put in the work or to embrace it or to
Right.
take it and make that your mantra and contribute.
Yeah, for me, so I grew up with a fine artist as my brother, and he loves spending lots and lots of time on pencil drawings, charcoal drawings, sculptures, whatever. He'll spend weeks and months on a small thing that never worked for me. And then when I found graffiti, and it was like the whole goal is to get in and out of there fast. That's my art form. I'm down. Absolutely. The goal is to get out fast. And I was like, that's my thing. You know, it clicked really fast.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine, you know, I'm not a writer or anything, but like maybe the next goal is fast, but also still have it to be the quality you want it to be, you know? Or
Right. That's where the
every
daylight
part of
comes
it.
in, right?
Exactly.
The daylight and the clients, you know, trying to find like legal opportunities to do it. That's where that came in. It was like at a certain point, it's like, you know, I need to get paint that's better. I need to spend the money on good paint. I need to find the time and the daylight and the, you know, the permission and everything to spend some time and perfect this. It was one of those few things that the more I got into it, the more I really did want to spend a lot of time like carefully crafting it and improving.
Man, well, which was actually also entirely why we started the project in the most simplistic form. You know, and the story is in the book too. But yeah, the reality of several different art forms being done under stress in the dark without large scale opportunity. So I always tell people, you know, when you want to hire an architect or a chef, you don't want to see a rendering or a recipe. You want to taste the food. You want to like drive by the building they built. And
Read do the ingredients list. How does that sound? Is that going to taste good?
yeah. And so the park ended up being this visual open mic where artists could try, you know, grow, you know, be crazy, do bigger things, which was more what we saw a lot of. So that kind of helps me segue a little bit. So I feel like right when we met through the park, and you guys were just coming out as artists there, and you guys kind of approached me about an idea of wanting to get a trailer and sell spray paint.
Yeah,
So-
it was crazy that a lot of we spent a lot of time at Hope, at the Hope Outdoor Gallery, the Hog, and it was interesting how hard it was to get extra cans of paint if you needed them. Right, there wasn't really a shop nearby, which seemed really weird because like this has got to be one of the top graffiti sites in the country, the world. I don't know, in terms of like people painting for the first time.
Which, yeah.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see that. Wow.
And like I said earlier to my brother, there's probably only a few people that really, really were there all the time and had to see. And Nikki and Andrew were two of them. So they can appreciate very well, that's a good chunk of one of the walls. But the layers, the amount of spray
think
paint.
of the stories that went into each of these pieces, each of these layers.
How many people painted for the first time in there, and then went on to make a whole new life out of that? And how many people came to that having already made a big life? People like Shepherd Ferry, like they're in there. People that are doing it for the first time, they're in there. We are like a lot of people. It's really neat.
Yeah. To give folks a little bit of context for those listening, we're looking at a large piece of the wall which has layers on layers on layers on layers of paint from all these beautiful murals that have gone on there. So it's almost like cutting into a tree and seeing all the years of growth.
Or a Macy's catalog.
A little bit.
Remember those?
A little bit, yeah.
That was like the phone books and Macy's catalogs. It was real.
Yeah.
We just went through swimwear.
Somewhere, there's probably some of that in there somewhere.
Well, and that kind of leads you to, so what's also in there, as you guys know, are quinceañeras, or,
Wedding proposals.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what, you guys, you got to throw some good stories out. Like, I know I always have some great nuggets to share, but that's a big part of the show too. Like, what was some of the craziest moments?
We helped host a wedding out there once.
Yeah, we did help host a wedding. And we did a couple wedding proposal murals for people.
Yeah, the wedding was neat. Like, we painted the fences white, if I remember right, and we had like the paint trailer. For people who didn't actually ever see it, it was almost like we had a food truck out there, but instead of food, it was spray paint. And we were moving spray paint like a lot.
Oh,
we
yeah.
were getting emails from the manufacturers saying, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys move a lot of spray paint." And we weren't asking for like a shop rate. They started asking us if we wanted a shop rate and stuff like that. We were just buying in bulk, and that was good enough for us. And then they were calling and saying, "Hey, we can drop that down further if you guys want to keep doing this." So like it was madness. But we painted, when this wedding came in, we painted like the trailer itself white. We painted the walls white. It was really, really neat. And then we decorated. We put like different kinds of decor around, and there was a wedding. It was a really neat, almost, I don't know if bizarre is quite the right word, but it was a really special experience. There's a spirit there at the Hog,
Yeah.
and that was cool.
Dude, see, I've never heard that exact story.
Are you serious?
Not that exact one. I mean,
we need to find out who that was. We'll dig it up. I'm sure we might have some information on that. That might be fun.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
There's a whole wedding there.
I mean, I'd love to see images, like just how they lined up, like where the bride walked in or whoever, and like just
it was
like
We got
under
married under the archway there. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
yeah, it was
that'd be
special.
amazing to see.
And then we got to do several, not several, probably like two or three marriage proposals there, and those were each special.
Oh, one time it was like early afternoon, and I was just walking around talking to people, looking at the artwork, and this guy, he's probably in his 40s, obviously drunk, and he kind of comes up to me and he slurs out, he's like, "I loved your movie." And he just started talking to me. He was like telling me how he thought my hair was so beautiful and my eyes were so beautiful, and he thought that I was Cameron Diaz. And she's got these bright, big, beautiful eyes, and he just was like, "Your eyes are beautiful," and I've got hazel eyes. So I just kind of chuckled and
you never
went
know
along
what
with it
color
for a
they are
while.
with the 40 in your hand.
And he kind of awkwardly like put his arm around me because he thought he was side hugging like a celebrity. But
For a camera that wasn't there, but was in his mind.
Right, exactly.
There's something about Nikki.
Did you ever correct him on that?
I did not correct him on that. I don't know if it would have mattered.
So he's probably told hundreds of people he's met Cameron Diaz.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's probably, yeah.
Is that so bad? Is it? I don't know.
The guy's got the Charlie's Angels theme in his head.
There you go.
Yes.
Oh, dude. Let's see.
What else did we have happen at Hope?
I remember, I always have stories, but I think Vic was telling me one day, in the afternoons, how he'd always come down and he'd always like to pretend how he would wear a hat and bring down a rake, and he would like to pretend that he worked there so he could meet people.
Okay.
Did you guys?
That's really
So
cool.
it's
you
like
never-
like secret boss, but without prizes and shit.
That's great.
No, it was
I'm just
his,
checking on you.
It was his kind of, I don't know, fun little adventure. But I guess.
I have a friend who he just likes being a part of everything, and he goes to Black Friday just because he just wants to get in line and run in with the crowd. I don't think he even buys anything, and he's had a long, successful career in entertainment, and he does licensing for like musicians and celebrities and that kind of thing. And it's like he does not need like a TV half off, but he wants to go to Walmart and like be there when the doors open because he just wants to be in the madness. And I wonder if Vic's kind of like that kind of a guy,
I mean, I don't know, actually, even though I've known him pretty well. I wouldn't speak for anyone if that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I kind of want to do it myself.
It's like when you put it like that, there's no stakes involved. Maybe I do want to run into. I don't know. Yeah.
Wear some
Well-
padding.
No, so Hope, I always liked that. How many people got to paint for the first time? How many people I saw paint for the first time and then become serious like muralists thereafter.
Yeah.
That was always a really special thing for me, because I just know a lot of artists who I don't think would have ever gotten into the art form. And I really feel like they contribute a lot to the scene. They contribute a lot to the art form, and like I think the art form contributes a lot to their life.
Yeah.
And I think having Hope as the Hog as like an option there, an opportunity there to do large scale work. Like where else are you going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Especially like if you have an apartment or if you live at home or something like that. I don't know. There's most people, even if you do have a home, you might not have a place where you're comfortable practicing getting messy, which is what art has to be, right? It has to be really fun. I think there has to be a level of like messiness and like experimentation, and especially with murals, man. You just you need the space to like figure out how do you scale, how do you spray paint, how do you try these different techniques. Even if you're doing commissions, like even if people give you permission on their wall, you don't want to be experimenting with something if you don't know it's going to work and if it's irreparable,
Oh yeah. Well, and that's where I know you guys got to see that all the time with people just coming up and buying paint for the first time or trying things. We're talking before how before you guys came, that was when I noticed that the garbage cans were being dumped over all the time, and that's when the homeless guys had figured out that people could use the paint, so they were reselling like
Oh man.
Reselling
cans with
the
just a little
half
bit.
empties.
Oh
yeah,
boy.
yeah.
Oh boy.
They were Jesse and the boys were banking on it.
They were entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Man, I ran into Jesse the other day I was like walking with my brother under a bridge actually.
Because that's what brothers do.
Yeah, we were just like, oh yeah, we do a lot of like crawling around and sneaking in places and stuff like that is fun,
Exploring.
Yeah, lots of that. And I was down. We were walking into a tunnel, and Jesse was just hanging out there, and we're like, Jesse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so go to YouTube, throw in Hope Outdoor Gallery.
Okay.
You'll find a few interviews where Jesse, some UT college student goes down to the Hog, and he's just like, I'm the representative.
Way to
For
own it,
context,
dude.
is Jesse a homeless individual?
Yes.
Please share.
I would describe him as one of the younger gentlemen that also, what was the magazine that would always,
Oh yeah. What was that? What was the magazine that he was always singing?
I have a picture of it somewhere.
Gosh dang, I met him the first time I went out there, or second time I went out there. Yeah, he came up and tried to.
Oh, I'm
You're
gonna pull
selling
this
that.
up. There's a great edit where they have him like doing the whole history of the project. He's explaining who Vic is. He's explaining. It's
That's so cool.
It is the best edit. Whoever did it, they like, you're gonna die.
No, I love those guys. That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great. But also interesting too, like these things that people didn't realize, like when you had a project like this happening, some of that stuff actually made it work, right? When you had people who loved it so much that they were willing to be guides and ambassadors.
And be there 24/7, literally.
Right, literally.
You know, like he watched after our stuff, man. Like, he saved our little trailer from a lot of, stuff.
Vandals.
Yeah.
No, I remember
he was
that.
really cool. He was
Oh, so cool.
yeah, he helped us out a lot in a lot of ways, and he was he's awesome. Yeah, I hope to run into him more often.
Was he-
Every now and then I look around for him,
Was he sharing the Challenger Street newspaper?
Yes, that was
Yeah, 'cause that's
yeah.
just so for those that don't know, the Challenger helps homeless folks, gives updates of what's going on and how one can help out the homeless and such. So it's a good medium for those to share. But a lot of times, you meet different people sharing this, and
Well,
it's
and
interesting
also,
moments that occur.
It provides it's kind of a job and income, and so it was another great additive to Hope Outdoor Gallery. The certain things that we would have there, the ice cream truck, Jules.
Yeah.
And when you guys
man.
started doing,
Jules. Damn.
Jules will be by.
Dude, hell yeah.
I know.
I want to come see him.
He's a 1 in a million human.
Yeah,
He
he is.
is.
Yeah, but then I felt like as soon as you guys decided to really be there and really were really helping me in the project too by kind of adding that layer of accessibility and stuff, then that's when more of the artists were trying to been bending on the weekends and when then when that kind of market scene really
Sure.
So of those weekends, can you think of like one of the craziest moments that ever happened when you were in that trailer and saw something? So
Dude, we saw a lot. There's so much going on. There's so many people there.
Yeah.
Like I remember at one point, I didn't spend a lot of time there when we first started talking about doing this. I was there like any other artist. I show up, paint for a couple hours, whatever, and you were telling me how many people visit. You were saying like hundreds an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And then when we actually started like setting up shop there, I was like, whoa.
Especially a weekend.
The volume of
Yeah.
people and paint is just, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was only Saturdays and Sundays, and definitely we realized because of the drive-by aspect of just the way the street was set up, and there were lots of things that added to the data that we were able to collect for 10 years,
Yeah.
which you guys contributed to, that's what I'm saying. It's,
Yeah.
all of this has made it possible for the evolution and all that, but it never happens. You never, ever, not just in art, but you don't get the chance to just try and see and learn and then be like, okay.
Well, I think that's what the graffiti like ethos is. It's
Yeah.
there's really no barrier to entry, and that's one of the things that I loved about it. Right, was that there's nobody you have to send a resume to. There's nobody who has to give you permission. You already accepted it at the beginning that you don't need permission to get into this, and then all you need is something to mess with and some place to mess with it, and you get to pick what both those things are. And that's really cool, Yeah. But specifically, like going back to what you're saying about Hope, what was really neat also, not only was it a big deal for like you had people who were homeless who lived there, you had people who were tourists, you had locals who were viewing, locals who were painting, locals who were taking family photos out there. And then one time we're out there and Red Bull comes out with like this mountain biker like trials guy. I don't know if you saw that. Unreal. There's a guy. Right. If anybody watching this hasn't seen Hope, like it's a complex set of like walls, right? Several
Layers
tiers,
as well.
tiers
Yes.
of walls, and very sketchy drop-offs, like really, really sketchy drop-offs. And this guy from some Red Bull sponsored mountain bike stunt trials guy started like flipping and jumping from wall to wall with like, how tall are these walls? What are they like? Some of them are
13 feet.
13?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the elevator
The
shafts
shafts.
there. It's right. Sloke, he actually brought that up too,
Oh,
like
man.
being at the top, and then all of a sudden this guy starts bunny hopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not okay.
Oh, dude. So
He was a professional.
right. I remember coming out. No. I think a friend text messaged me and sent me some still photos of like some people doing acrobatic type stuff. Like, and I'm like, okay, you know, I'm trying to gauge where they are because it's like, oh, if it's at the top, you know.
Yeah.
And then she's like, is it cool if my parkour buddies do some video at Hope? And I'm like, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
But of course they did, you know, like, which all this, you know, was a miracle.
Well, it
It's
could
a
have turned
miracle.
into a parkourer story,
Yeah.
but it didn't.
Oh, dude, this
Thankfully.
kid. I was painting a
Thankfully.
mural one time, and this kid at Hope, and this kid comes up to me. He's like, "Are you a graffiti artist?" And I'm very proud of myself. I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm a graffiti artist." And he's like, "Can you do parkour?" And I'm like, "No." And he was super disappointed and just like walked away. I've never seen somebody be so unimpressed. It was really funny.
He's like, you can't do a flip and like land and like do a big ass tag?
Yeah, no. Can you like land on this rebar over here? That I can probably fall land on rebar. I can do that, you know. But
Although I will say that when Andrew and Nikki arrive, when they're like are both on their motorcycles and like with the helmets, you know, like they're pretty rock star, like superhero esque. So maybe he saw that whole scene.
when we moved here, we only had motorcycles. Like Nikki and I, we rode exclusively motorcycles for over 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
Like 2.5 years, we rode motorcycles only. And then once we started painting, and we used to we would do our gigs by taking a milk crate and just like strapping it full of spray paint to the back of the motorcycle, you know, and then eventually it's like, okay, can we get a milk crate and a folding stool, you know, and it's like, okay, we can get a milk crate and a folding stool on a bike, you know, and then at some point we had somebody who asked if we would do a gallery show, and we said absolutely, and they said, all right, well, if you can deliver your paintings to this address in this city on this date, which was a week out, that would be great. And it was a solo show. It was going to be like 13 paintings. And we had 0. We're muralists, you know.
Yeah.
And so Nikki and I just kicked ass for like 3 or 4 nights, not sleeping, just painting. We borrowed a friend's garage, and we just painted, and we took the money that we charged for the shipping and bought a van for $1,000. And
nice.
us and Jason, we painted the van. Jason Etherly. And
Shout out Jason Etherly.
yeah,
Awesome.
and he came over and helped us paint that, and then we loaded all the paintings into this little van, and we're like, if this van can make one trip, it paid for itself.
Right.
And man, and we drove everywhere with that thing. We ended up going.
That's right.
Back in the day when Spray TX was first starting, we used to have like these family meetings at Spray TX, and you know, everybody who's like almost everybody who's like a big part of the scene now, we were all sitting on the floor there talking about stuff. You know, this is how I heard about you for the first time, was sitting on the floor in one of these. And I remember Roshi bringing you up. You know, Roshi had brought you up. This is my first time with everybody at Spray TX, and Roshi's like, Andy has a project coming up and is blah 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 blah. You know, I was like, who's Andy? You know, and then Roshi told me about you and about the project and everything like that. And then I remember the same night, Sheeps. He hit me up and he was like, hey, there's a bunch of really neat artists going to Baton Rouge pretty soon next week, and if anybody wants to go with me, we can. And I was like, I have a van I got for $1,000. I don't know if it'll make it to Baton Rouge or not, but we can try that.
It's a grand van.
Yeah, but no,
$1,000 only.
We met up with Duz, and we met up with Soffles, and we met up with who else was there? Odith. Yeah. He has the really crazy like
Corner.
spatial, crazy, realistic 3D stuff that goes
Yeah.
across multiple walls and stuff like that.
Yeah,
You know?
it's
Met
amazing.
him. Yeah, and then we met like Smug one, and then we met a lot of big cats, and that was really neat. Yeah, it was just really neat the scene especially at that particular moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when Spray Tech is booming, Hope is booming, lots of things are organizing. So cool.
Pre-Uber, pre-Lyft
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
for context, for people, to have a van
Yeah.
also special because
Dude, especially when you're young and hanging out with people, vans are super underrated. You know, being able to like load up your friends into a thing and just go on a trip. If you're the person that has the van, you get to go on all the trips. It's so much
Oh,
fun.
for sure.
Yeah. Love that.
But just gear alone, product, I mean, like art, especially on that scale, size-wise, it's got to fit. It's the only
Yeah.
thing it'll fit in.
One time we were at X Games had a way of bringing a lot of crazy people into town at the same time. You know, when
Yeah.
X Games was here,
Right.
and it was always during the really hottest month, right?
They're like, where can we go the fullest on extreme? Oh, let's go to that 3-story art park.
Where can we sell the most beverages?
Yeah.
we
So
go.
one time, and I think they interviewed you actually also, Andy, but WWE was here, the World Wrestling Entertainment.
Wow.
I don't remember if they interviewed you. I can't remember. They interviewed.
I can't.
They
They
interviewed a
were
couple
doing
people.
SmackDown at
I gotta
Irving
watch-
Center.
Basically, yeah.
I think.
So I was at the Hog painting the big main wall in the front there. I'm on a ladder, and then this production crew comes up with this
They
guy.
go up and say, "Hey, brother."
Dude, no joke. and they're like, "Hey, can we talk to you?" And I'm like, "Sure." And this guy walks out of like this RV, like a tour van, tour bus kind of thing, you know. And he looks like a Barbie doll with tattoos. Like he's beautiful. His hair is nice. He's super chiseled. Like he's definitely a model, but he's like a, you know, whatever, you know. And then he's got like tattoos everywhere. And he's like, I'm Corey Graves. I'm like, hey. And I'm like, he's like, I'm gonna touch you for a minute. I'm like, okay. And he just starts miking me up. And it's like July. I'm sitting here painting. I'm like super flush, sweaty, nasty. And he just walked out of like an air conditioned thing with like fresh makeup and everything. And he starts interviewing me. And I'm like, this is not fair. This is not fair at all. You're gonna look amazing. I'm gonna look like a schmuck, you know. And then they ended up like, it was cool getting like featured on their show and everything. But he asked me some questions and I kind of gave my responses. And then by the time they cut them up and put them on TV, they're completely logically incoherent, but they sounded cute. You know, nice little like sound clips they put. You know, how TV.
That's
goes
exactly
sometimes.
what we're gonna do with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Great. Just slap a bunch of like sentences together. Yeah. No, that was a bizarre experience too. You know, just like, and also one thing that it completely changed my perspective on homelessness too. You know, being able to talk to Jesse and these other guys, like, I could see like why they were homeless and what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it, and how some of them had tried other ways of doing this and how it didn't. And so, I think that there needs to be a lot more of a platform for those guys to be able to talk to the public. You know, I really think that. I think homelessness is super misunderstood. Not all of it, obviously, but a lot of it is. Thank you.
That's true teamwork right there.
Yeah.
She
It's
got
like
some
we
autographs
collaborate
as
a
well.
lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really neat for me to be able to spend a lot of time
Yeah.
with a lot of the local homeless, you know, and just kind of get their perspective, ask them questions, learn from them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, so one story I don't think I've shared on the show yet, but I don't know if you guys remember this. We got to the point where we started seeing art installations. You know.
Yeah.
Remember? So we're getting beyond. So suddenly things are just showing up.
Yeah, like the concrete faces and stuff like that, and the love. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Sunday at park. It's early. Things are, you know. Remember in the morning it was just it's like the perfect sunlight. It's like nice and barely warm, and I get out and I'm 7 months pregnant, so I'm waddling over and I see something in the distance. I see some sort of cool new art at the park. It's like, what could it be? So I'm walking over, and as I get closer, it's just this sign, and it says the word "you" on it. I'm like, oh, so cool. What is it? And as I get closer, I realize that this sign is on a little real estate type arm thing, and the thing that's holding it up is a giant screw. And
That's amazing.
I literally like doubled over. I like doubled over in laughter. I was like, wow. Someone not only took the time to make this, because it was a legitimate like giant size screw
No way.
with a welded arm and like little hooky things and this. I mean, like really well done, not like kind of well done. And I'm like, then they had to come here in the middle of the night and because you knew the ground there, it was cement.
Yeah.
This was
And
in
heavily
the
packed.
ground.
Yeah. Dang.
Like as if, and in my mind, I saw someone with a giant screwdriver just like screwing it in the ground. Like
It wasn't a flathead.
I have a picture of it. I just remember I couldn't.
Some of the installations were pretty mind blowing, actually. You know, like
Right.
the love text.
Yeah.
The abuse that word took and survived blew my mind. I saw people show up there, try to remove it, like a lot. I saw a lot of people try to get that off the wall.
Yeah.
And it was like the sword and the stone. You know, everybody's like, this is the goal, is to take these love bricks. For people who didn't see it, it was like I don't know, what was it, like probably like 18 inches high.
Did you guys
something like
know
that.
who installed those letters?
I don't think I ever found out who that was.
See,
No.
to this day, I think one artist told me that they did, and then I think they were pulling my chain.
But it was amazing how many people tried to get that off and how it stood.
It's
you know,
true.
Eventually somebody busted a leg of the E in love off, and it stood out probably like, I don't know, 6 inches plus off the wall. You know, or from the wall. Really a neat install. I was really impressed by that.
We did a whole like double page spread in the book, and I was like, that's not even enough. There were so many pictures of the love install, and every artist and their version of that. But yeah, I think in the end, someone still came and took it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like there were certain pieces that I marked out and was like, hey, we want to keep this, da da da. And then I'm like, someone's gonna take those. And they
Dude,
did.
that had to have been like a planned out thing. Like, you can't impulsively come take that off the wall. That had to be something where someone's like, I'm keeping that from Hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
They may be listening to this. Yeah, who knows?
Oh yeah.
Make it like a Banksy.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
know.
No.
Well, it's amazing that it survived that long, and that's symbolic that love can withstand.
Boom.
Take that. Cue the music, y'all.
We could do so many things with that.
Yeah.
Skies are blue. Never mind. Tell you all later.
Hey, very nice. Very nice.
No, just jokes.
Yeah, there were so many like wild like installations that happened. There were a lot of people who would come and I saw a few people who were rapping. They would kind of like they bring out a whole setup and just kind of it'd be like an open forum. You know, not only visual art but open forum period.
Saying like freestyle, or were they doing music videos
both,
and such?
both. So I saw there were people doing freestyles. There were people doing music videos. There were also people who were just like running through their album and trying to sell their album on site.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A little bit of all of it, man. I saw all of the above.
We went to a concert one time. It was right as the sun was setting.
Oh yeah.
It was at the top of the hill, and they had this big music trailer set up that they had hooked up their instruments to, and they did a full concert at the top of the hill. It was beautiful.
Not only to like add to that, the same circumstance. Okay, when I met Nikki in Idaho, and there's this building across from the one I met Nikki in, called Sammy's, and it was a cute little like venue, very like hipstery cute thing, which you don't get in Idaho much. So it was fun. You know, they took pies and made shakes out of them, and then you could watch like gigs, right? You watch people play these little mini concerts. Super cool. Anyway, fast forward a few years later, he's in this band that shows up to Hope, and and he hits me up. He's like, "Hey, you're in Austin, right?" And he was one of my first clients ever. Actually, he booked me several times when we were in Idaho. Before I ever did a mural for anybody professionally, he used to hire me to come do graffiti on like models and stuff like that at parties. And so I would come and like paint models and stuff like that, you know, and then eventually he hired me to come
Here,
paint.
bring pie.
Yeah. and then eventually we painted the basement of his venue, because they had like a basement area where all the bands came and hang out before the gigs.
Dude.
And so I came and painted the whole
Little
basement.
green room style.
Yeah,
vibe.
exactly. So I came in and trashed his basement, and then it was really neat to be at Hope several years later, and him show up with he sold his restaurant, he sold everything, left his whole life behind, and joined a band, and he pulled up to Hope, and I tagged their RV while it was over there. I pulled my little van, because it was a really big RV, like a tour bus.
Mm-hmm.
So I backed my van up to the RV, stood on the back of my van, and like tagged something. I can't
This
remember.
was with permission, by the way.
Yeah.
In fact, he paid you.
I don't even remember. but
I don't know about that.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just really neat. Like him showing up, him rolling up, someone that like was at the beginning of all of this with me. You
Wow.
know, and to be able to like tag
Never
his tour
heard-
bus while we were there.
So amazing.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, again, like, not only you probably never would have imagined that, but
No.
this place, stuff like that was happening all the time. I just had a flash of remembering the day that we realized and decided that we had to rip the Band-Aid off and just, close it. January 2nd, 2019. And I get a call. Our buddy's down there trying to help move the trailer, sticks. And he's got a little, and he's like, Andy, you got to get down here. I'm like, what? What's going on? He's like, I don't even know. You just got to get down here. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I drive down there. It is 8 a.m. There is a school bus filled with hippies from Colorado that decided that was going to be their mission to stop the shutting down of Hope Outdoor Gallery.
Oh my gosh.
Like, literally, we are the ones doing it. And, like, so I pull up, and Styx is just laughing at me because apparently the cops would go over and they'd put this chain on it, and then the hippie kids in the bus would go over with the clippers and cut it off.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like, they'd already done this like 2 or 3 times.
No way.
They were like, not shutting it down.
Dude, just think about like
And we're like, who are you?
It's like a whole other generation of tree huggers, but they're concrete huggers.
oh my gosh,
Yeah,
holding
they were-
hands.
they were
You
literally-
will not take this wall.
Yeah, they were
Wow.
they parked the bus. They were somewhere sitting on the top of the bus. And they're just like, go ahead, put a lock on it. I mean, meanwhile, Six was trying to move the trailer out, and the amount of paint that had been spray painted on the trailer was making his lift. Oh my God, it was chaos. It was amazing.
And I mean, I'm sure they were doing it. I mean, with the cause was right. They were trying to
but
protect
what's
the creative
really cool,
good. I get it.
What's really cool though is, regardless of like the context of it, what's amazing is that people felt that passionately.
Yeah.
Period. About something, that they were willing to do that. Like they knew knowing as little as they did about the project, they were willing to do that because they just saw this as like an extraordinary. I imagine the reason why they do this was because of an extraordinary self-expression
Definitely,
location. Like
yeah.
a really like, as far as I know, unparalleled. Like really, really neat.
Yeah.
And I think regardless of the context of like whether they knew what they were doing or what, I think that just shows this level of communication that art has.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, I think I was wondering that if maybe they did have some memories like you just shared, that no one knew about.
Right. They
that
might
then
have their own
allows this
stuff there.
other, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And to travel that far, I mean, it's quite a bold move. They were probably from Boulder, Colorado.
My
All right.
gosh.
Sorry.
Sometimes I can't claim him at all.
This is why I'm here.
All right, Nikki, you gotta have some really wild one that you remember. I feel like I remember even us talking
Our wildest
about
stories,
just,
Nikki will never remember there.
No.
No, I spent a lot of time there. It was life changing. I mean, I didn't have any kids yet. I've got 2 now, but like thinking of spending, I spent days and days and days there. I spent months there. I think as a whole, it was a whole new perspective on life. My understanding of the way that art worked and people worked changed because of what I witnessed there. It was beautiful seeing people just coming and having the freedom to paint and stuff was inspirational to me. And I know that as far as like the adventures and the laughs, overall, it made such a beautiful impact on my life. There were
But
daily
that one
things.
time when you couldn't find a parking spot,
One time.
I know, and someone accidentally tagged a car, or a boot was. Oh my God,
I mean,
I could go on and on.
My main like worries / hilarious laughs always came from those and what they decided to wear on their feet. Because the footwear was what I was always worried about people slipping, and yet then I'd see the gigantic heels on somebody that wanted to do a photo shoot, or no shoes at all, or flip-flops, or just the random me worrying about ankle breaks.
Man, I loved that it had like this. When I was in school, I took 2 Latin class. Well, same Latin class twice because I failed it the first time. But I took Latin in college, and one of the things I thought was really, really special about graffiti that I learned in my Latin class was going back to Pompeii. That was buried on Mount Vesuvius, ancient Roman city. completely covered in graffiti, and a lot of what we know about how Latin is spoken comes from Pompeii being preserved. Latin was a totally dead language. Nobody in the world spoke Latin. And then once we started finding texts in Latin, that was cool, but you didn't know how to articulate it still. And then they found out that once they got the city unburied, all of this misspelled vandalism completely covered the whole city. And the misspellings told us what the phonetics of the language were like, because they were misspelled. And they were able to put the whole language together back through that. And in terms of how it's spoken verbally.
No
right?
kidding.
No kidding. And so even though they had the text, it wasn't until they looked at the graffiti that they were able to figure out how things were said. And so I used to think it was kind of corny when graffiti artists would like misspell their name or words or things like that. But like after that, I'm like, that's as an ancient tradition at this point, is misspelling your words,
Right.
But one of the things that I thought was really special about that also was that they had these town squares back then. And it was a very popular place to do graffiti, to speak, to dance, to throw parties. There were just these town squares. They just have them, and people would do everything there. And so we learned a lot about the politics and the culture from like looking at these town squares that were completely being gone over and over and over. And I've never seen anything in my life that reminded me of that like the Hog does. Like that to me was that space, and it's the only one I've ever seen like that ever. And so I thought that was something that was really neat, and that connected us to the ancient art form of graffiti and the ancient social things that we kind of forget about sometimes. Being able to have a place to just sprawl out, but be together at the same time.
Totally. Oh yeah, amazing. Wow. Gee, man, I feel like every guest we have on, we're gonna have to plan to have you guys on again. Yeah,
We could talk for hours.
no, it's true. Like it's been like really cool to feel that, and even like brought up kids and kid stuff.
It's kind of the ongoing evolution. I mean, these walls will continue to talk,
Right.
and there's so many stories from it, and that are coming up in the future. Maybe your kids are going to be awesome artists and utilize this medium too.
Oh, no doubt. They love spray painting.
I know that my nieces are definitely
Yeah,
talented in so many ways.
but are you guys taking your daughters out on gigs?
Oh yeah, they paint.
Oh,
They
wow.
have a very good two-hand technique where they hold the can, have both thumbs on the cap. They're actually pretty decent about it. We had one gig recently where Paisley took out 20 plus feet, probably 25 feet of like making a
Stick figures.
of everybody that she knew. Everybody. She's like, this is dad, this is mom, this is my sister, this is grandma and grandpa, this is my other grandma and grandpa, and this is so and so. And just went like boom, 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 boom. And so like she's on the back side of this wall, and we're painting a mural. And then we come back there to like a whole line of like of all these stick figures representing everybody that she knows.
Wow.
It was super cool.
And how old is she?
She's 5. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure she's going to stick with it.
No, she loves it.
Oh
She's-
my!
Stick figure? Okay, all right. Sorry.
Wow. I know.
Yeah.
It just,
No, that's amazing.
Yeah, we have a studio on East 6th, and we have a 25-foot wall there that we host experiences on, and we teach people to spray paint. And whenever Paisley comes and visits the studio, she's always wanting to paint something on there. She had a banana last time, a banana with sunglasses. Yeah.
did you put some tape on it? So just
Nope.
like the one from.
It didn't.
Yeah.
It's like hope. Layers and layers of paint.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Dude. Well, all right. We just don't have as much time.
It's all good.
How are we doing?
No, we're
Oh,
good.
geez.
But man, it's been awesome to have y'all here, and to learn just a smidge of your evolution, your love story, your art story, and obviously this was the beginning of Color Cartel, which you guys should check them out and see everything that they're putting together throughout Austin, throughout the world. But we're so glad to have y'all here. We
Thank
always
you, man.
like to end our episodes, to give you all an opportunity to contribute your thoughts. We have these bricks, these gold bricks that are kind of symbolic of the paint park and how each of these bricks build these walls together. And we just want to ask each of you, like, what would you want inscribed on your brick? It's a think piece.
It's literally got to be written in stone, huh?
Etched
Etched in
in.
stone.
Well, I like to think too something that you might want your kids to remember you by, or people to remember, like just how you felt about art, or the park, or
Give me anything. Give me your
Yeah.
favorite curse word. We don't know.
I know.
A quote that okay, I'll go. A quote that I've recently heard, it was on a John Maxwell podcast. I can't remember who said it, but it was, if the only tool that you have is a hammer, you'll see every problem as a nail. And for me, I've tried to use that in my art as well, just to try and look at things from different angles, trying to add to my tool belt consistently so that I can live this life to the fullest.
That's awesome.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Love that.
You nailed it.
I tell Paisley sometimes, she'll tell me that she can't do something because she's too little or something like that, you know. I really like living in the era with like YouTube, where she can say that. All I gotta do is pull up YouTube and be like, here's a 5-year-old in Australia who's a little girl who shreds on a skateboard harder than your dad. You can do it, you know. Or like, here's some kid doing this. I just love that. And then also old people doing the same stuff too. You know, it's really cool. Like, hey, here's a grandpa on a skateboard crushing it. Like, your age is nothing, your size is nothing, you know, that kind of thing. And so I kind of have, I don't know if it's a mantra, just kind of like a little thing I do with Paisley, and I don't like hearing her say she can't do something, you know. And so so we just kind of have this habit of I'll say, what can you do? And she'll go, anything. And I'll say, how? And she goes, practicing and learning. And so maybe practice and learn, or just practice. You know, I think that would be a neat thing to have on a brick. I think that's something that I learned pretty young, is that no matter how bad I am at something, repetition, just practicing and practicing and practicing and trying and trying and trying. And whether you want to learn math or art or philosophy or singing or anything, like, you repeat it enough, you'll figure it out. And I feel really strongly about that. So if there's any like mantra I could leave with the world on a brick, that probably something like that, I think.
Yeah, that's a good one. Practice and learn. That also hits with the Hog itself, because so many artists have shared it. It was their college or their stomping grounds of getting that ability to evolve and strengthen and practice and learn.
Yeah.
I'd actually love to throw that on a hat or a shirt.
I can throw it on a hat or shirt for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
Yeah, I love
I
it.
know a guy.
Yeah. You said something that like reminded me of something I totally forgot though.
Just the park being an educational
Boom.
stomping
Yeah.
ground.
That, yeah. So when I moved to Austin, like, I came here because I was hired as an economist. Okay. Yeah. My degree is in econ and math. Didn't take art classes or anything, just strictly graffiti, right? And then I came here, and the goal was to go back and do a PhD in economics, which is a 7-year program after you're done with your bachelor's, you know. And I was kind of looking at that, almost like looking down the barrel of like a gun, and you're like, do I want to spend the next 7 years sleep like barely sleeping, studying this in the shower? Is this what I really want to do? You know. And then I thought, you know what? If this is my default option, is that level of study, I don't know that many graffiti artists putting in that kind of study. And I thought, if I spend the next 7 years working as hard on graffiti as I would have worked on my PhD, I'm going to have something a lot more special than a PhD. And that was my mindset coming in, when I went to Hope for the first time. That was very much my mindset every time showing up, like this, or I go back to school, you know. And I don't want to go back to that, you know.
Yeah, but you made that your school.
Exactly. That's always been my mindset on it. Is like everything I paint, I'm thinking, this is my school. You know, this is my education. This is my learning. Every time I do this, I'm learning more and improving. And I think that mindset's always served me really well, and it's helped give me context when things seem hard. It's like, you think this is hard? You think that seems like a lot of work? You think you don't feel like doing it? Well, guess what? That's how it goes. You know, when you don't feel like doing it, going and doing it. When you feel like you've done enough, keeping on going. You know, sleeping and dreaming and thinking about it all the time.
But we are going to wrap it up. So
been an
thank
honor.
you guys, for being here.
Thank you, Andy.
Definitely.
Andrew and
Oh,
Nikki,
geez.
Color
It's amazing
Cartel
to see you.
in the building.
That's right.
So yeah, you can find them at all the places. Just when you click on this, you can find all that. But we'll see you guys next time on These Walls Can Talk, and we're excited about more.
You have been listening to These Walls Can Talk, a Hope Outdoor Gallery podcast, powered by Dropbox, Docksend, and Ibble.